All right, here we are. 3 and 2, and we're here. All right, welcome guys to the live hangout with Tim Rhode. We are here, and this is a special event that we are doing because last week some of you guys saw the incredible event that we were able to have with Robert Kiyosaki, David Osborne, Garrett Gunderson, and this is going to be a little bit of a wrap-up call and review, and to hear some things that Tim, our founder, was able to take away from the event. So Tim, welcome, and thank you so much for spending some time with us on this weekend.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to be on actually and talk about the event we did last weekend. Hope all of you that are on or listening were able to join us for that. There is a recording of it. It's pinned right now in the One Life community. So if for some reason you didn't see that, make sure you do. Jen Groover, Garrett Gunderson, David Osborne, and Robert Kiyosaki were amazing. And we have all of their speeches that were like shortened, all there for you to listen to. So that was really good. And then as many of you got together all over the country and all over the world, I've talked to people in like 15 different countries that were part of our live event. And we just thank each and every one of you for attending, being a part of something really special. And we hope you got a lot out of it. We hope it changed the conversation in your mind and with those that you love about your finances. And we'd love to hear from you what you got out of it and what you learned, and either you can put it in the comments or just let Hector know, and we'd love to hear from you what you got out of it and how you liked it. So
Tim, I'd love to know, and Deb, Liz, Rebecca, I'm going to promote all of you guys to talk up here because you guys are awesome for hanging out with us. Feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand. But Tim, you've had the pleasure of, or the opportunity to go through a career, get out of the rat race, and kind of come back and down from the mountain, if you will. And so essentially, a lot of people would have think that you've kind of won, but what I love is you were still there taking notes and you were still there engaged in the learning. So like, what do you take out of things, out of an event like that? What were some of the learnings or some of the kind of the aha moments that you had from being at an event even like that?
Well, I think the best thing that our attendees and our live cash flow Zoom call people could have gotten out of it is the importance of mastering your financial basics. And there's a book called The E-Myth, and it's all about learning about how to run a business. At One Life Fully Lived, we want you to learn the business of running your life. And think about that. Think about, I know some of you that are on this call, you're in your 20s and 30s, and see this gray hair, someday you're going to be in your 50s and 60s. And one of our sayings is, when you get in your golden years, you're going to hug yourself or curse yourself for the decisions you make when you're young. So this was a really good opportunity to look at, how can I increase my income? How can I monitor what's coming in and going out? And how can I learn to invest wisely for my future? Those are the One Life financial ABCs. And if you think about it, those are the fundamentals of the business of your life. So those are the kind of things, and candidly, I am still writing notes, but it's not as much about those things. What I take out of it when I go to these events now is like, what are 3 or 4 must-dos that I'm going to implement? And that's another thing that's good for those of you that, let's say you were on our live Zoom event. We talked about this at the live event in Scottsdale, of the importance of not just taking a bunch of notes and then not doing anything with them. It's good to, after something like that, kind of do a download of what are all the things you learned, and then what are 2 or 3 specific changes you're going to make that can help you, just get to the next piece of your one life fully lived. And by the way, as we know, it's not like this. It looks like this. And when you're in one of these, it's okay. It's just where you are right now. And that doesn't mean that's where you're going to go, especially if you're listening to this call or are on it. That says you want to learn the things. And that's what all the masters, all the people that have gotten somewhere, they listen to calls like this. They watch Jim Rohn on YouTube videos or read his books and just read and study and keep on learning, and you'll get there.
So, Tim, what I really appreciated about the event is that even someone like me, who maybe not as far along as a lot of other people in the room, it was still very practical, and it was still very, it made sense no matter what stage, whether people were just starting out, whether they're well on their way, or a lot of them were actually, masters. I was having, a mastermind session with people, with a guy who has a 7-figure income, and he's in there looking to learn. So at maybe they're different at different stages, or maybe they're the same. But for someone who is maybe, let's kind of go through those levels. If they're just starting out, what are some of like the key things? And you talked about the ABCs. Maybe this is a good time to get into it. What are some of the key things that they need to have in order to progress to that well on their way and eventually become a master?
So I've actually coached like hundreds of investors and a lot of people in the real estate industry that when I first met them, they were making some money, but they were in debt still. So they were on the negative side of the ledger. And there's probably some people listening to this that can relate to this. And so how do you go from that side to this side? How do you, either get out of debt or avoid future debt and start to get to where you can have some money for, maybe kids' colleges and retirement, and maybe some of you might have to help your folks out. There's a lot of things that come up, and the first thing is just being mindful of where you are now, and then it's as simple as what specific steps can I do to make more money? What can I do for a side hustle? There's a lot of people in our One Life community that are working 3 or 4 different things right now, and just trying to get more income streams on. So that's number one. That's the basic bottom rung, basically. Number 2 is you've increased your income. You've gotten a hold of what it costs you to live. You've got a really good handle on your B. And going back to the first piece, something really good to do is look at what does it cost you to live? Where's my leakage? Where are we spending money that we don't need to do? Am I eating out too much? Stopping by Starbucks too much? Things like that really add up, you guys. That could be $1,200, $2,000 a year, that when you start putting that extra money away, instead of just spending it, it goes to work for you. So the next step is actually having that money go to work for you, and having so you've gotten rid of a lot of the debt. You're starting to be able to invest, and at first it just looks like it's going like this, and like you're not getting anywhere. You're not getting anywhere. This could be a decade, and then on a graph, wealth looks like this. And I've got a handout. As a matter of fact, anybody that wants it, send me an email to tim@timrhode.com. It's called Get Rich Slow. And it's a 6 steps, to financial freedom. So you start to, you've eliminated your debt. You start to invest some, and you're really a student of the game. Go back to the business of your life piece. You're studying you're studying the books and the YouTube videos of people who have done what you want to do. And you also, if you're lucky enough to know people like this, buy them breakfast, buy them lunch, spend time with them, and ask them, what did you do at different steps along the way? And what would you do if you were me? if you were just starting out. When I was a hungry young real estate agent in Manteca, I was a grocery clerk before that. I'd take out to coffee or beer, and I didn't drink. I just have them drink a few beers and start really getting loose, and talking about what they do and how they got somewhere, and how they financially went from here to there, and just follow their model. So let me keep going, Hector. So that's kind of like the second step. The third step is you're buying some rentals, you have some notes, you have other pieces of income that are passive income where you don't have to work. Hal Elrod's got like 11 books now, and that's a hard path to do it, but that's another way. So you get some passive income going in, and at this point you're still hustling. You're still priming the pump to bring in the single family homes, duplexes, land in the path of growth, stuff like that. And then the next step is exchanging that for easy to manage properties to where you don't have as much effort. It's not, you're not doing the work, others are, basically. And then the final step, and this is where David Osborne is doing syndications and hedge funds. So those are kind of like, and Pat Hyben's got a really good course coming out about this, the 5 steps to financial freedom. It's kind of like an awakening, get started, you get the machine rolling, you exchange to.
You're back.
Yep. Did I melt for a sec? So I was done.
Okay, great. I think it's beautiful what that framework that you laid out, right? Is kind of the steps and the paths. And I think what I took away from the event most was that successful and wealthy people they think differently, and there's a different way about thinking about wealth, and there's a different way about thinking about what's possible. So when it comes to beliefs, for a lot of our One Life community, what sort of beliefs, or what sort of because I think beliefs are the foundation, what kind of foundation do people need to have in order to be willing to do all these things? Because I think that's kind of the first step. So maybe for some people who are just kind of joining the community, maybe you can take us through that transition of where you kind of went from, just not the right circumstances, what a lot would call poverty, all the way to, being financially free. Like, there was a big shift in beliefs and mindset. Can you talk maybe a little about maybe what happened at the event? But I'd love to know what that shift was like for you, going from kind of poverty to prosperity.
Yeah, well, I think I always had a belief in myself, in my ability to earn, and a work ethic. Like I would take I had a beer can route when I was a kid. I'd go by all the bars in my town and get their garbages and take out their cans and bought. I think it was just aluminum cans, and then my mom dropped me off at the freaking dump on a few weekends, and I collected cans there. Also sold greeting cards and stuff. So I was always liking to have some sort of side hustle and stuff. But I did find myself at 25 as a part-time grocery clerk, really, really struggling with a side hustle of painting addresses on people's curbs to buy diapers for my then small kids. And then I found my niche selling real estate. And maybe there's something that you think you want to do, but just don't have the courage to do it. That's where I was when I went from the grocery business to real estate. And for me, that made all the difference in the world. That finding my niche, finding something that I like to do that I'm really good at, and so I want to say one other thing with that, Hector. So my income started going. I was making 30 grand a year as a grocery clerk. Then I made 60 my first year in real estate. Then I made, I think, like 110, 180, 300. I never made a ton. And I know 300 doesn't sound like much. I got friends that made millions in the real estate industry. But here's what's different is while my income went up to 300 grand, my expenses, the graph looked like this. My expenses stayed on the bottom. So I was spending, like when I was making 30, I was probably spending 5 or 6. And then I was spending, let's say, 10, 15, 20, 30. No, I never spent more than that personally, but up to let's say 10 grand. And so we were investing the difference. And that's what I've had friends make, $1 million a year and spend. I literally had somebody I coached tell me this. I make 800,000 a year and I spend somewhere between 6 and 1.2 million. I'm really not sure. That's the opposite of the One Life financial ABCs. That was just mindless. Why'd she work so hard? She didn't get anywhere. And you're working hard so you can get somewhere. So when you get into your golden years, you can enjoy it.
There's two things that came up in that, Tim, that I think you said you always had it, but I'm curious in your ability to coach people, and then with what you see in the community of a lot of emerging entrepreneurs. You said that you always had this willingness to earn. And one thing that stood out for me at the event was how a large part of this process is becoming a business owner or an investor, and that ability to give up security, what seems like security for opportunity. So for the community, right, with what seems like, what would you say to the person who thinks that going out and taking these steps and relying on themselves and their own skills is actually scarier than sitting at a desk job or working the 9 to 5? Because a lot of people, they're just scared to make that leap. But you said you always had a willingness to earn. So what can you say to those people who are scared to kind of jump into that new opportunity, or jump from the 9 to 5 into this entrepreneur business owner role that's much less secure?
Well, first of all, it's not for everybody. One thing that's really good to assess with your investing style and with your career style is what your risk tolerance is. And when you said, it's funny when you said come down from the mountain, Hector, I literally climbed a mountain and skied it yesterday, and I'm on top of it, and it was like really icy, and my ski came off, and it was in a place you don't want to be, and in a situation you don't want to be. I have a high risk tolerance. I really do. I always have, for investing, for career, for the way I live my life. And over my desk when I sold real estate, it said step right up and risk rejection. And I called people and heard no all day long. Talk about not easy. It's just, it's humiliating. And then, kind of that, thank you, sir, may I have another? But that's what it takes, you guys. If it, and just for all you entrepreneurs in the community, what it's like with it's like this. Hector, it's really tough to make something happen out of nothing. And this goes back to the E-Myth, the ability to be the entrepreneur and the manager and the technician. If you want to, and that's what the book, The E-Myth's all about, is you think all you have to do is be good at something and you'll be successful. That's the technician. I was a damn good realtor, but if I didn't market myself and wasn't a good business person, I wouldn't have been successful. So if you think you want to go out on your own and do some, first of all, it's good to have a board of directors of people in our community that'll tell you the truth. You don't want the naysayers that just will say it'll never work. And I know for every successful person I know, there were 2 or 3 people saying, don't even think about that, it'll never work. But it's good to have people on your quote board of directors that can help you decipher what ideas make sense and what you should follow. And one other thing I counsel people not to do is try to do 3 new things at once. We all have really good ideas and a lot of good ideas, but if you try to roll one wheelbarrow up a hill at a time, it's hard enough. Trying to roll three is pretty damn hard. So
Yeah, it's that's no joke. The other part of it was low expenses, and you said that you kind of talked about the guy who made 800 and spent 1 million. So what needs to happen there for people to be willing to lower their expenses? Because it seems so simple, but I think that much less people are actually doing than how simple it is. So for those people that you've either coached or for people in the community who are maybe challenged with this, what are some ways to be comfortable with lowering their expenses, or what are some ways that they can do to actually get their overhead down?
it's you guys, this is the most important piece of financial freedom, and it's the piece most miss. Is there's what you bring in, and then that what you spend, and being mindful of what this is and what your mindset is everywhere and getting something someplace. Just the want to make a game of it. How much of what I earn can flow down to what I invest to someday. And you, anybody that knows me I'm not a braggart, but I've been able to, since I was 40 years old, do what I did in high school. In high school, I was proud of the fact I never took a book home. And since I've been 40, I haven't worked a day. I mean, if this is work, I guess I'm working, but I haven't like bought a rental property myself, or done any kind of things for myself. All I've done is water skied in other people's wake, and that's level 4 of those 5 steps. I just find really talented people who know what they're doing and invest in their projects and let them do all the work. So getting down the financial basics is just so important, and the defensive piece of it is the piece most missed. I see so many young people that are starting to really make more money, and they're buying the things that the nice car with the payment, the boat, the RV. My saying is let somebody else buy the boat, and you buy the gas and the beer for them, and be very generous on that. I mean, they got the insurance payments, the storage payments, it's just, they say the 2 best day of a boater's life is the day they buy the boat and the day they sell the boat. It's just owning crap that you don't need. Look at my freaking jewelry. I've owned 5 cars since 1985. Think about that. And I've bought just a few used ones. I've a few new ones. I always buy them a couple years old because I know I'm going to beat it to that age within months anyway. Not easy on cars, but so I just pay cash, pay it off, and never have payments for stuff like that.
But Tim, the devil's advocate in my head is trying to figure out what the community might be saying, and the voice that comes up is, but what if they have kids? What if they have a mortgage? What if they have all of, like, what if they're in the middle of life and they don't have time to just be reading books and I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what they need to do to be successful. So what do you say to that person who maybe
Really, really great question, Hector. It is, and I don't want to belittle it. It's easy to forget when you are old and gray and your kids are the ages of the people on the call, how difficult that period of life is. And you guys, my heart's out to you. It's tougher now than it ever has been, but there's more opportunity now than there ever in the history of the world. And the trippy thing is all the learning is right in front of you. There's stuff you can learn on the internet today that one could never do. So this is where you incorporate some of our It says my connection's unstable. Can you hear me okay? Um, this is where we incorporate like Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning and get up an hour earlier and go through as many of the savers as you possibly can. Silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. Those are, you get up an hour early and knock that core out, and you read stuff on the business of your life. This is, if you're listening to this, you're probably in that place in your life, and you just get up a little earlier. And I know this is tough, and I remember small kids, so.
Yeah, it really comes to personal development, which is it's interesting. There's this you can't have one without the other, right? It's the old love in the marriage aspect, but you need to have personal and professional development. At least I believe to truly be fulfilled.
Hang on one sec. Tony Robbins called it constant and never-ending improvement. And you go to college for a few years, but then you get out and it's time for the business of your life. And that's when you're in school and you're just mastering all the things that are part of rolling that wheelbarrow up the hill. I learned all I could about selling real estate. I learned all I could about investing, and just those, and motivation, and mindset, and time saving skills, and just things and how to write an effective long-term plan, and a short-term plan, and just stuff like that all was part of materializing. And we also, just like in the cash flow game, study what was my net worth every month, or excuse me, every quarter, and how am I going to increase my net worth, and how am I going to increase my income. So we did that every quarter. We'd play the game cash flow, and then look at that balance sheet, and literally I'd handwrite it, on the back of a net worth statement of what am I going to do over the next 3 months.
It's incredible what can happen when you immerse yourself into an environment like an event, like we had last week, and even you're talking a lot about the things that we're going to do in June at our event in Philadelphia, which is a lot about the investing side, but then the planning side. So you want to share, this is actually a great segue and an opportunity to share a little bit about the Entrepreneur and Wealth Building Summit that we are doing in Philadelphia in June.
Yeah, so we're really excited to have an amazing crew from the One Life Financial Masters who are going to be there, that are going to just share basically what we've been talking about on this call, what they've done to earn more, how they monitor it, how they invest. And there's just some financial superstars like Jen Groover and Gary Jonas, and a lot of them you may not know their names. Jonas is a huge investor in Philly. Excuse me, he owns a big chunk of Philadelphia, and has just kind of made his way doing that over the years. We're going to have Sean Lowry and Bob Wells talk about how best to increase your income, how to monitor what's going out, and how to this for us last year at a financial event back east, and everybody loved it. So really, really good event for just figuring out how to run the business of your life is day one. Day two, we're going to take John Berghoff's appreciative inquiry methods and really learn how to plan in a positive way where you're going with your future. And also, we're going to spend that day with where's One Life Fully Lived going with our future. So you're going to get to help us literally plan the next 10 years of One Life Fully Lived. It's going to be an amazing event, and we'd love to see as many of you there as possible, and look forward to it. And that's June 2nd and 3rd. It's at the Liberty Ballroom, which is right where the Liberty Bell is.
And we kind of didn't touch on it, but the The price of it is $4.95. There are some VIP spots available, but the ticket is that price because not only do you get an incredible 2-day event, but it also funds a program that is probably maybe even more impactful than the event itself. So on that Friday, all of the tickets and all of the proceeds are actually funding an event on that Friday that's going to help the youth of Philly. Do you want to talk a little bit about what we do there as well? Because I think a lot of people don't realize that their ticket also pays for essentially young kids to come and experience the same thing as well.
Right. So just like we're teaching the One Life community how to master your finances, your fitness, your wellness, your longevity, the things that make up a One Life Fully Lived, we have a big heart for helping the youth just getting out into the world. The way I put it is find themselves faster, figure out our One Life teachings of who am I, what's my dream, what's my plan, how will I fund my life, and how will I be healthy enough to live this wonderful life I've been blessed to live. So we're bringing together some kids for a program called Dare to Dream, and my buddies Will Little and Ben Houston Jones are going into high schools, like 3 schools, a week before the program with the Discover piece, and then they have Dream and design at this event on Friday, and it's with like Brother James, a lot of music, movement, infotainment to help them really get fired up for their lives. And then they're going back into the schools after for a piece of it called Deploy. So there's 4 steps: discover, dream, design, and deploy. And so your ticket helps pay for our crew to put this event on.
And you can go to onelifefullylived.org/EWBS. It's right there on the homepage. Come hang out in the One Life community. Guys, we have some people on here live on the call. So if you guys have questions, we definitely want to respect the fact that you hopped on live. So feel free to throw it in the chat or unmute yourself. Tim, is there anything about the event that you feel we missed, or anything else that you want to cover?
No, I'm just really excited. You know, the event we just did last week gave us a lot of momentum. Robert Kiyosaki and his wife Kim really loved our community, and I see us doing more with them in the future. Just love where we're at. I'm just elated to be putting on Philly, and then we got some other exciting stuff coming up later in the year that we hope you all can join us at our West Coast conference. And
I love it. All right, guys. Well, if you have any questions, throw those down there. Yeah. Come hang out in the One Life community on Facebook and go get your ticket at onelifefullylived.org/ES. But see you later.
Thanks, Hector. Thanks for making this happen. And thanks everybody that joined us and are listening to the recording. So talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.